Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
All right, Inside Metal Show on Radio V. I got two very good guests, Mr. Billy Rassel. How you doing there, Billy?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, and Mr. Noah Berlow. What's going on, Noah? Everything's great. Doing something a little different on this show. We're going to talk a little bit about the movie and music business, kind of get into the film and music business. And both Noah and Billy have a lot of experience in that. They've got a new two separate companies, and they're working together on a great new project. I know you've got Timeless Music and Timeless Pictures, Billy, and you've got Immortal Cinema. How come I can't say that word? Immortal Cinema. Why don't you start out? Tell us, give the listeners and the viewers a little background about Timeless.
Since I was about 15, I was always into music, DJing and stuff like that, and DJing strip clubs and blah, blah, blah. Really wasn't the book smart kind of guy. Didn't want to go to college and all that kind of jazz. So went to Full Sail University, got a degree in music production, and just sort of started working in studios off and on since I was like about 17 years old. And growing up, my family's been in the entertainment business for about 30 years, so I've been in and out of LA for 30 years and growing up around a lot of just musicians and artists in general. And it was just sort of a passion I had for, music, and thought, it's kind of time to start something that, in my opinion, puts music back up on the pedestal that it's not held at any longer, as well as film. So, we have the film side of our company, too, sure, and doing the same sort of thing.
Now, it's kind of in this day and age, you've got your film production company, you've got your boutique label. Is so many labels these days are either going out of business or changing their format to digital. You've got a very old school mentality and philosophy that, especially with the record business.
Yeah, for me, it's like I said, I was working in studios back in 97, 98, all the way till about 2003 when Napster and all that came around and sort of crushed the music industry. Sure. I think Sony laid off like 200,000 employees or something in 2002, right. Something crazy. For me, I transitioned. I learned on, 2-inch and DAT machines and, big SSL consoles and stuff like that. And nowadays, when I learned Pro Tools, it was the very first version of Pro Tools when it came out. And, you had to get Pro Tools certified and blah, blah, blah. And, I don't think people really understand that, just because there's new school doesn't mean that the old school techniques don't work as well. There's still a place for radio. There's still a place for, 2-inch tape and all that kind of jazz. Vinyl sells more than CDs nowadays,
absolutely.
Actually.
Absolutely. Vinyl's really making a comeback. And Noah, you've got, I know you're working on a new Slash, a documentary on Slash. You're kind of like following them around on the last couple tours.
No, actually, that was a documentary on Slash's, not the last album, but his second solo record, Apocalyptic Love.
Right.
And I was following him in the studio in the earliest part of the production of that record. And it's funny that you brought, up about the old school way of things were being made and whatnot. And Slash was actually deciding that he wanted to record his record on tape the way that they used to do it in the 70s.
Yeah, for sure.
Like live in the room.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just an amazing experience being able to see every aspect of the production happening live that way. So it was a lot of practicing, a lot of rehearsing between Slash and Miles Kennedy and the other members of the band, Todd and Brent,
right.
because they had to get it down right in the studio as they were writing it, so that when it was time to record, they were all in the same room playing
Right.
like a band, the way that it would sound live.
Yeah.
Definitely is a much different experience.
And you're actually filming and producing. That
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story because obviously Slash is someone that is
He's
this
very private.
iconic
He's
person,
too.
very private, and
Yeah.
I got all these disclaimers at first from his management.
Sure.
That hey, listen, this is Slash. He doesn't like being on camera. You got to stay out of his way. Don't talk to him and everything. And on the first day, he came right up to me and he's like, "Hey, no, I know everyone told you not to talk to me, but it's cool, man. You can talk." And I was just very, very much like a fly on the wall during this production, which was very loud because I had to kind of hide behind speakers and whatnot, and wear multiple ear plugs and headphones and everything. And I just tried to stay out of their way, which is what makes for a better documentary experience anyway.
Sure. And you've been doing film for quite a while. I know you did a lot of stuff for Rolling Stone, rollingstone.com.
Yeah.
You interviewed and filmed some of the most iconic, people, not just hard rock and metal, but all types of music.
That's right. I started, working with Rolling Stone around the time that the music industry was going through a lot of changes, around 2007. And I had been doing a few things with a few bands in 2006. But what was so interesting is that the big topic of conversation that the magazine wanted to know about is, what do you think of the changing music business? And so I got to hear firsthand how a lot of these major artists were reacting to it, and I learned some pretty interesting stuff just from kind of seeing across the board that, for a new artist who's struggling to deal with the fact that people aren't buying CDs anymore, it's like all the musicians are in the same boat essentially, and trying to find new and creative ways to get their music out there and to sell their music and make a living off of it.
I know you've interviewed everyone from Metallica to Godsmack to, we've got the fast version again. We're going into a break. Well, we'll continue on after that. I guess we didn't check these songs. All right, Cheat Radio V, we're going into a quick break. We'll be back with Billy Rassel and Noah Berlow.
Hey, what's up? It's Tone Loc in the house, and you're tuned into TradioV.
Join Dave Navarro and friends for Dark Matter, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on TradioV.
Hey, Dave Navarro here, Dark Matter Radio, TradioV.com.
The universe is vast, enormous, huge, full of stars, planets, and matter. Some of the matter is so dense that not even light escapes.
Get on the mic, get on the mic, get on the mic, get on the mic, Frank. Pardon me, sir, pardon my reach. Seeing you guys were worried. I think this is going great. Pardon my reach. Get the away from me, dude.
You are really beautiful.
Thanks, you guys.
He's one of the most beautiful people I've ever known.
This is pretty much every week. He brings in a guest that tells him how beautiful he is.
Pardon my reach? If you have to reach over me, then don't do it.
He is the straightest gay guy I know.
Dave Navarro signing off. Dark Matter. Thank you for
night.
listening. Bye.
Dark Matter with Dave Navarro, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on TradioV.
Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
All right, T-Radio V Inside Metal Show. We're back to the music playing at normal speed here. I'm here with my very good guest here, Billy Rassel and Noah Berlow. Talk a little bit about the music business. You guys are working together on a movie production company and a boutique record label. But when we ended, you were talking about some of the artists. I know you've worked from everyone from Sully from Godsmack, Serge Tankian from System of a Down, Metallica. You interviewed for the Rolling Stone. Talk a little bit about that. Some of the work you've done with that.
Yeah, sure. I went to school at Ithaca College up in upstate New York, and I actually recently won the Young Alumni Award this year for my large body of work of just doing stuff not only in the world of entertainment but also in some more socially conscious projects. But back in 2006, 2007, one of my classmates was working at Rolling Stone, and he was at the time when video became popular on the web like it is on the show here today. Like, they realized the need to not only do photo shoots and stories but to also have video. And so he called me up. He says, can you go interview Van Halen, or go to the press box at Van Halen when they're doing this video announcement for
Roth coming back
of the tour. And I was just like, when? They were like, today. And I basically had to run out there, grab a camera, charge the batteries, and run out and do it, and edit it really fast and upload it real fast because it was live. It needed to be up. And since then, I've done over almost 100 videos for Wenner Media, which is also Us Weekly, Rolling Stone, and Men's Journal. Right. And so from there, they just started calling me. Anytime they did an interview, they wanted me to go film. And the second person that I ended up going to his house was actually one of my favorites, Serge Tankian. Yeah. And he had just announced his solo record, and that was really great. And overall, like, just from hearing from these different artists, there's a certain human element that you never really think about when you're hearing their music, and when you get to meet them in person, you just start to realize they're just like you and me in a lot of ways, and they have a lot of similar sort of lifestyles that they wish that that when they're not screaming on stage. And just personally, I just have been so blessed to be speaking with so many of these legendary guys and getting to learn so much about the industry through them.
Absolutely. And Billy, coming together with Billy, I know we were supposed to have your partner, David Black, here as well. He was unable to make it. But
he's working on some films right now.
Yeah, big, again, another big film producer guy. Now, are you kind of splitting it half and half with the film and music? I know you're doing a lot of soundtrack stuff with a lot of bands.
Yeah.
You're working with a lot of major artists.
He's, between David and I, we sort of make this happy marriage, I guess you could say, a real bromance. Is that what they call it, a bromance?
Sure.
And he does sort of the film thing, and I do the music thing, and we feed off each other, and film and music really sort of go together synonymously anyway. So it just sort of made sense for us to do music and film. But there's some really iconic artists that we're working with right now that we've actually already spoke with Noah about jumping on board to help do some stuff with. And there's like 4 other film projects we have in the works, and then there's 3 musical artists that we have in the works right now. Obviously it's we haven't let out anything about it, so there's not a whole lot I can say for whatever stupid entertainment Hollywood excuse I can give you.
Right.
But I think basically just essentially our whole passion is to just put music and film, and I think the boutique labels period are really striving doing so well because it's the bigger companies that don't care anymore.
Sure.
And
you're right.
And artists, they really want to feel like they have a home, and it's sort of what we're striving to be is this sort of a home for people that just want to have their music and stuff heard to the masses.
Some of the independent labels are surpassing. Before it was all about the major labels. Now it seems even in the hard rock metal field. I mean, Nuclear Blast and Century Media, Metal Blade, Frontiers, and and Roadrunner. I mean, all these independents are doing so much better than the majors. The majors have just kind of lost traction and their know-how. They just the changing of the business. Everything is digital now. There's really not money in CDs. So obviously everyone is going. Touring is where the big money is, and merchandising, as well as doing a lot of getting
sync licensing,
all
that
film
kind of
and
stuff,
TV, which your family's been very involved in the entertainment business and movies and film, and I know you've been working with that at a very early age. And your uncle started out as a musician. Now, one of the most famous.
He's essentially a rock star in himself.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's the only person I know that's been doing one thing for 30 years, but still doesn't consider it his career. It's really kind of funny. He hangs out with like all his best friends are people like Keith Richards and Paul McCartney and Marcus Mumford and Manson and all these, I mean, he's just, that's what he does, he's really into music. And, that's sort of a great thing because my family's real supportive about that because of the fact that, entertainment's sort of just been a good portion of our lives. But the good thing about it is we do it in a way that's honest and loyal. And
well, that's what I appreciate. I appreciate your modesty. I know you don't like talk about, but I know people are wondering. Your uncle, of course, is Johnny Depp, who was a musician who I remember back when he was with Rock City Angels and bands. He came into L.A. and started as a musician before he started with the 21 Jump Street.
He was with the Kids.
The Kids back in Florida, with Mitch Perry.
Yeah. And then he did P.
P, that's
with,
right.
With Flea, I think, from Red Hot Chili Peppers. And, my mind's gone right now. I'm sorry.
And of course, music is taken over, but his passion, his movie career is obviously flourishes, and as everyone knows. But music's always been his passion. He always goes out any chance he can with Slash or with, Aerosmith and this and that.
Still does.
And he must be obviously very supportive that you're taking on that role and kind of taking that old school philosophy.
For sure.
So now coming, from your family background and bringing all that together, how does a company like Timeless survive in this day and age, and what tricks of the trade do you have to use apart from just using the as we said the merchandising, touring, and licensing to movies and such?
For me, it's really a matter of relationships. We look at things in a longevity standpoint. I was with a company from the beginning called SMH Records, and about 6 months ago, I sort of walked away. They, were going in one direction. It's not really the way I wanted to go. But, for me, it's more so about wanting to have people that want to work with us on projects that we all agree, like that we all see the same vision on, I guess you could say, rather than, hey, how much can I pay you to do this?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that people sort of get lost and think that if you just pay somebody and this and that, you know what I mean? But in my opinion, it's more so about longevity and building relationships and, staying, building, just essentially being able to do things for the future, Sure.
Now with video, obviously, Noah, you're so involved in video work. Again, it's very difficult. Everyone's putting their videos out for free, and those big, huge budgets back in the 80s, $100 million to or 100,000, 200,000.
Right.
I'm thinking movies, $100 million. But videos, they used to do $250,000 for a lot of these 80s bands. Of course, those times are lost. It goes straight to YouTube. There's really no money to make on YouTube. Now, anyone could post the videos on YouTube, whether it's official or not. Everyone's, and Mevio is another outlet that's, I think, a little bit more friendly for the artists to make money. But it's where is the money for artists to do videos these days?
What a great question. If I had the answer to that, I'd probably be making a lot of that money. But the truth is,
how do people like you survive too?
Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, there isn't. It's not what it used to be, but that doesn't mean that there aren't new opportunities that are out there. And I always tell young musicians or people that really want to break into the music business that in order to be successful today, you have to be a pioneer. You have to do something that be a self-made person that doesn't rely on someone to discover you and doesn't rely on someone to do all the business for you. That you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a pioneer, and you have to think towards the future. Because whatever I were to tell you, the answer is put your stuff on YouTube. Sure. Well, there'll be something bigger than YouTube someday.
Right.
The answer is to make music videos and get, yourself an app. Well, the next thing of technology will wipe that away, as we've seen with cassettes and CDs and whatnot. How there's always going to be something in technology that's going to trump whatever it is that's popular today.
Yeah. Well, you see in the new stuff, like they're talking about the new iPhones, and there's a lot of, I know you were talking about something new that Microsoft is putting together.
Yeah.
That's just going to blow people away, and the technology keeps moving forward. It's funny when you talk about Napster, everyone was talking about the illegal downloading. Oh, it's killing music. Oh, now it's really the legal downloading or the streaming.
Yeah.
Spotify
is what's keeping it alive.
Absolutely, and it's keeping it alive, and And going into another break here. I'm not paying attention here. I'm sorry. We'll get back at TradioV Inside Metal Show. Do another quick break. Be back with Billy Rassel and Noah Berlow.
Hey, what's up? It's Tone Loc in the house, and you're tuned into TradioV.
This is Quick Fix Radio. Quick Fix Radio. Yeah. Check it out, y'all. We back in the building. What's going on?
Yes, sir. What it do? We got some super special guests up in the place,
In the building, we got all 5 live in the building. Bone Thugs in the building. Everybody.
We up in here
Tonight, y'all. What's going on?
Hey, man, I had to come see what this TV radio what this all about. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
We got Game on the line. Game, what's going down, baby?
What up? What up, Craig?
What's going on? Oh, man, we got EPO
Berlow,
Dylan. Who's this on the phone with us?
Yo, what up, man? It's Akon.
Akon in the building. Who is this on the line?
Be real.
We got Be Real. Be Real. Who this we got on the line?
This Ty Dolla $ign right here.
What up, Ty Dolla $ign in the building. Thanks to all the fans for stopping by.
The Quick Fix with Crazy Bone, right here on TradioV.
Hi, I'm Bob Nalbandian, and be sure to watch my show Inside Metal, which airs live every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on TradioV. I'm going to be bringing in the greatest heavy metal artists live right here in the studio. Once again, every week at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, every Tuesday, right here at TradioV.com, radio in TV.
Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
All right, TradioV Inside Metal Show with my good friends Billy Rassel and Noah Berlow right here. We kind of left off. We're talking about the streaming of music, and I know you were just telling me during the break something interesting you were doing with Sully from Godsmack, and there's so many new shows like Axis and Palladia and stuff sure. on TV.
Well, Sully, ended up doing a solo record back in 2010, I believe it was, and it was his first solo project that he had done a full record on. It was really interesting, very different from Godsmack, but still with that Sully Erna sound, and it was this fusion of world music, and it was a very interesting process, and he had filmed most of this creation of it himself without a big crew or anything like that, with a handheld camera. And I was approached to put this together in the form of a documentary, and Sully was very specific that he did not want this to be like an EPK, like a making of the record type of thing. He wanted it to be a documentary about what is music, and to really kind of talk about that in a way that would be intellectual, and it would kind of use the album and the making of the album to sort of be the example of what music does to us in our bodies, and how it's this universal gift that we have. And we ended up spending a very long time editing this together and putting it all together. And when it was all completed, it ended up becoming almost an hour-long documentary that Palladia Network was interested in, and they started to air it. Wow. And the day that it aired, it actually made his record sales go soaring, because people were so intrigued by hearing about how it was made and the whole story behind it, and how different it was to Godsmack and everything like that. And it's just a great example about how the music industry has really become this visual medium, where it's no longer just having your music on people's ears, that they want to be able to see something, and those, by seeing and hearing and feeling and getting in depth and learning about the artist and learning about how everything came about, really inspires people to want to have those thoughts in their head when they hear the music.
And there's so much opportunity now because with a computer, it's not just TV. You have now you have the Apple TV, the Roku, all these different stuff. You have stuff like TradioV, a lot of internet TV. So much access for artists to and without a very big budget, you could do it like you said with Sully just doing it from a handheld. Here it airs on a major thing like Palladia. Sure. And Access and so many great companies and doing a documentary, you see so many documentaries. The other great thing is having access to Netflix and iTunes, whatever. But so many great documentaries from the past. I just sit at home and watch on Netflix, and it's like you get so into it. And I know how I just did my own documentary. In fact, do you have the trailer queued up there? We'll show you. I don't know if I've got some DVDs for you guys. We're going to. This was my first film I did.
It looks really good.
There was no hip hop. There were no boy bands. There was no punk. There was nothing. It was rock and roll.
You could sense when you went to Hollywood that it was felt like there was more girls. The Rainbow, Richie Blackmore, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin.
Parties were like a phenomenon back there.
Things started happening so quickly, we were kind of like
thousands of kids would show up.
But LA was doing it.
People underestimate the power of the 70s influence.
That whole scene, in LA was the scene.
The meddlers against the punkers.
He gave him some blow and a couple of quaaludes, some cocktails, and all of a sudden, it was game on.
Helicopter shine the light down on everybody, man.
You give a young band like that, a couple $1 million, they are going to get fucked up.
It seemed like we had the world by the balls. And we did.
The LA scene was huge. God, it was wild.
There you go. That's the theatrical trailer to the new DVD that's going to be out in April. We did a theater run last November, which is a little bit premature, but it actually did quite well just to have it in the theaters. And like you say, all the different access, this being the first documentary I've done, we're getting interest in all these different cable outlets, and not just cable outlets, internet outlets. And there's before the traditional thing. I mean, to get it in theaters was so hard back in the day. Now there's a lot more independent theaters, and to get it on TV would be almost impossible back in the day with just HBO and whatever. And now with Netflix, everything else, people could stream it live, and it's really opened the door, which I think is great for artists such as yourselves and a lot of the younger artists coming in. I mean, a lot of people, have that approach of, it's ruining, there's no more money left. But as you said, you just have to be a little bit more creative because there's a lot more opportunity. The money's not as big, but if you have the right, sensibility and know the opportunities to get it out there, you could definitely do well, and that's something that you guys are striving upon. And why don't you talk a little bit more, Billy, some of your tactics you've got.
I just wanted to add, plus I think a lot of the problem is it's so focused on money.
Right.
Is that everybody's so focused on the fact that I have to sell 1 million physical copies, I have to do this, I have to make $1 million, I have to drive a Ferrari, whatever the case may be. And, what happened to the fact that you were a fan before this started? You know what I mean? You used to be a fan of rock or whatever it is that you sing, and you lose your passion along the way. But it's like you guys say, everybody has a smartphone, so there's a million ways to capitalize on it, on the monetary value of everything. But it's, I think people put far too much emphasis on the money.
Well, that's so true, because especially today in this day and age, when you look at the commercial market, if you look at the underground market and what people are doing, and I particularly look with hard rock and metal bands, it's always been a very underground approach. But when you get into the big commercial stardom, it is all about being the success. Go on Star Search or the American Idol or the Next Voice or whatever, and without paying your dues, without touring. And that's the thing about, when we did this movie, which was so important to get the word out to the young artists. In LA, these bands paid their dues for years and years playing the clubs, hammering it out day and night. And I know your uncle went through the same when he was playing, in bands in Florida and out in LA coming out. It wasn't easy, man. You weren't, you were barely making money, but you strived. You did it because you loved it. You did it because
nobody does that anymore.
It is, and that's the approach. With people, they just want that instant success.
That's right. And that's part, like we were saying, it's the culture that we're in. We're in this fame-desperate American Idol society today.
Yeah.
And I think it was Dave Grohl who said, the difference between when we were growing up playing music and today is that you get one kid with talent, he goes on American Idol, and someone says you suck. And then they feel like their life is over. Right. Whereas he says when we were growing up, we sucked in the garage, we sucked on stage, we would go and play somewhere else, and then our friends would tell us how bad we sucked, and then we kept sucking until one day we became Nirvana.
Right.
And and that's important. You need to go through that phase of putting yourself out there, paying your dues, like your documentary I'm sure goes into in terms of how hard you have to work. But Sully said in the Journey to Avalon in the documentary that it's in terms of advice for a young artist or whatever, that it's a little bit of talent and a lot of luck.
Yeah.
And
those are the bands that have the longevity. I mean,
that's right.
These artists that they're flash in the pan that do these. Everyone wants to be on the other big thing is these stupid reality shows. I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork every 2 minutes. I mean, when they started, there was some interesting stuff, but now it's they're just. I mean, the most ridiculous concepts, and everyone wants that instant fame, that 5 minutes of fame. But who's going to remember these people, a year or even months from now? And that was the thing, to get the art. How is it with artists? Obviously, the Zeppelins, the Deep Purples, the Black Sabbath, the Who. The Rolling Stones, these artists lasted 30, 40, 50 years, some of them. And even some of the newer metal bands, you look at, when I say newer, I'm talking about, from my generation, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, they're going on 30 plus years right now. Out of these new artists, you're seeing 2-3 years they're at their peak, and then it's boom, what artists are going to have the longevity anymore? Is it just going to keep going?
Great question.
I mean, I think hopefully because of companies like you said, like Roadrunner, Glassnote's a good example. These smaller boutique companies that are making sort of a comeback. I'm hoping that they swing music back into where we can have artists again, like Rolling Stones and Zeppelin and the Beatles and this and that, legends that stick around for years and years, because I just don't see Justin Bieber being
remembered in 40 years.
Yeah.
In 40 years.
I give him 6 months, if that.
The sad thing
he'll be a
is,
reality star. He'll end up being, one of those Corey Feldmans.
Well, the sad thing is that the most successful documentary of all time, which is supposed to educate us, is Justin Bieber's
his thing. Well, now it'll be his roast.
Society.
His roast that's going to be on Comedy Central. I think that'll probably be the most successful one of his documentaries now.
Cool. All right, well, we're about to head into another break here. Why don't you, before we get into the break, tell people how they could get in touch with you?
Let's see, just at Brashk, BRASHK. That's Instagram, that's Twitter. That's the best way to get a hold of me. But I open my doors to any. I just want to say this: any musician, any documentarian, any filmmaker, editor, anybody who wants to maybe have somebody in their corner that has some avenues and just has a passion for their work and wants it to be heard or seen, hit me up. I'd love to help you.
All right. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. And that's great that you're offering, because I know there's a lot of filmmakers and musicians that watch this show that are interested in how to get their music or their work or their art over to you. And, in this day and age, it's tough. Every little bit helps. We're going to go into another quick break here. And we're going to be back with Billy Rassel and Noah Berlow on Inside Metal TradioV.
Yo, what's up? What's up? This is Too Short, and you're watching TradioV.
Hey geeks, wake up! We got big news. I'm not gonna mumble this time. Geekscape, the long-running movie video game. Let me do one more. Hey Hey geeks, we got big news! Geekscape, your favorite show about movies, video games, comics, and TV, is coming to TradioV Monday, October 6th. And it'll be on every Monday from then on, 7 p.m. Until the apocalypse happens, we're all eaten by zombies.
Hello, TradioV.
Hello for us.
Hi, guys. My name is Steve Renazizi.
My name is Mary Elizabeth Ellis.
My name is Katie Aselton.
You're watching TV on the radio, but you're not watching it, you're listening to it, because radio on TV.
Hi, TradioV.
Keep that radio going inside that television set.
I love TradioV.
Trust her.
TradioV. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
Swam out of the ocean and grew legs and they started walking and the apes climbed down from the
T Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
All right, T Radio V Inside Metal Show, little classic Aerosmith to lead us into our last segment here with my good friends Billy Rassel and Noah Berlow, doing something a little different on this show, talking a little bit about the music business and the movie business. And I know you both, you're very involved in filmmaking, and you've got a great new boutique label you're forming and a film company doing a lot of soundtrack stuff. Doing a lot of work with different stuff in film and music, and you've got some really cool things happening apart from just the videos. Tell us about the new fundraiser you're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of, like I was saying before, I live a double life, one in the world of entertainment that I've been making a career of, and then the other has been, working in more socially conscious type of projects. I believe that art like film and music, has the ability to really help change the world in terms of impacting people on a mass level. And some of the documentaries that I've done have shown that, and some of my background has been in that. But this year it marks the 100th birthday that my grandfather would have been. He was a POW in World War II, and in honor of him and in honor of my business partner, Aaron D. Baldone, who's a veteran, we decided to form the Immortal Cinema Veterans Foundation this year. And what the Immortal Cinema Veterans Foundation does is it provides opportunities, job opportunities for U.S. military veterans on entertainment industry jobs. So if we were going to be working on a project, we have a separate fund that will provide their salaries to help put veterans back to work in Los Angeles and anywhere in the country that is working on some of the projects that we have.
All right, very cool. Now, how did you guys come together with Immortal Cinema and Timeless? How did you guys know each other for quite some time, Billy?
What was it? A couple lines of blow that we shared together? No, I met Noah a while back through a mutual friend and found out. I was a fan of his documentaries, but had not known that it was him, and was speaking to him like in conversation, hanging out and stuff, and then found out who he was, and it was love at first sight, I guess.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, I can't think of really anybody else that if I'm going to do something with music, and I'm going to need any sort of great substance, put in some sort of visual form. I mean, he's the guy I would go to, for sure.
Now, you're based in Kentucky, and you come out to L.A. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
How is the scene out there? Now, coming from Kentucky, how is it you work within the music and because most people don't think of Kentucky as the movie business.
Right.
Business,
Well, I have my own studio home in Kentucky. The reason I live in Kentucky is because my wife and kids live there. we're actually transitioning at the end of this year out here to LA because it's obviously at this point getting too hectic because it's every other week I'm here pretty much now.
You don't have to shovel any sunshine out of your driveway here, too.
Sure. Right, exactly. So, just I've been doing that for years, just really traveling back and forth, just because Los Angeles is extremely expensive to live, and my house in Kentucky would cost me $1 million out here, and I'm not at that level yet.
Right.
So. But it's a transition and it's tough, but I mean, it's all for the music and all for the stuff that we're doing. So
absolutely. Well, what's the project people could? I know everything's still on the forming stage and all that, but you were talking about people to send over some work and stuff. What are some of the current projects you're working on as of right now?
Right now we have, for instance, we have one film. We're going to take a bunch of. With the music side of things, we're taking the soundtrack, and the film itself is actually based in the 70s and then 20 years later in the 90s. So we're going to take 70s and 90s songs to make it time period accurate, but we're going to redo all the songs with new artists or, for instance, artists that are, top 40 today, I guess, or rock artists that are, rather than have, say, I guess The Who or somebody,
Right. Well, that's become a big thing. I know a lot of artists are doing like the tribute kind of stuff. A lot of these tribute CDs. We had Bob Kulik, a producer, on a couple shows before, and he does a lot of that stuff. He'll do a tribute to Queen, to Who, to AC/DC, to Judas Priest, to all this stuff, and have all these major artists from the 70s and 80s come together and do. And plus, a lot of artists are re-recording their music because they could have the rights to their music if they re-record it to put on film and whatever else. So you're seeing a lot of the 80s bands from like the Dawkins, the Poisons, the Warrants, all that, and a lot of other bands that maybe their rights are tied up with a certain label, but they would re-record them and be able to use that in film or commercials. Which one
of my favorite LA bands that did that was Metal Shop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Metal Shop?
That was Steel Panther, basically.
Yeah, Steel
Panther. And Stick Kitty, or what were they called? Not Stick Kitty. That was a '70s band. Something Kitty. They did that Visa commercial.
Yeah. But they started back in the Viper Room.
Yeah.
And I remember watching them back in like '97, '98 in the Viper Room when they first started, and it was the craziest. I mean, they were the most awesome band, I thought.
And it's funny how they've taken off. I just saw them a couple of days ago at the NAMM show at the Grove. But
they've done really well for themselves.
Just for being a kind of a novelty joke act. Doing cover songs, they've managed to do.
It's a beautiful thing. It's that like you can have a song that you haven't heard in a long time. As soon as you hear it, it brings you right back to that memory.
Sure.
And I mean, with the way that the industry, we're in this still just transitional period right now. And the way the industry is going and the way that everything has sort of put music in a sort of a standstill of where do we go, what do we do? It's just amazing that there's so many younger people and younger artists that are doing things that are actually revolutionary in terms of keeping music alive and maintaining it, because it's really easy for an industry like this to just kind of filter out because the money isn't being made the way it used to. So.
Absolutely. Well, before we end, we're about to end here. Why don't you go ahead and give up, how people could contact you, how they could submit their material to you. I know you both have different sites. Go ahead and give it up one more time there, Billy.
My Twitter and Instagram is at BRASHK. Email BRASHKINC@gmail. Probably the best way. I wouldn't try and contact me off of any websites that I'm affiliated to because I don't check those ever.
All right, Noah?
And my Twitter and Instagram is Noah Berlow, NOAHBERLOW. And our website is immortalcinema.com, and our nonprofit is immortalcinema.org.
All right, well, you're going to be hearing a lot more about these two gentlemen in the very near future. Immortal Cinema, of course, timeless music and film. Going to be breaking out real big over the next couple months, from what I understand. I know there's a lot of stuff you can't talk about. We'll get you back on when you can talk about all that.
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
Stuff.
I'm just happy to be here.
It's kind of a secretive thing at this moment because we're just kind of.
Yeah, we can actually have David here next time.
There you go. So, Lil Zeppelin to take us out on this show here, TradioV, Inside Metal. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
You are watching TradioV. Radio and TV.